Berserk. I'm pretty sure people watching are familiar with the series. This is one of, if not the most influential mangas that has ever been created. A story about struggle, a story about redemption, about strength, revenge, and a word that rhymes with grape, with a story that's heavy, emotionally gut-wrenching, and gruesome. It only makes sense for it to get the worst adaptations imaginable. The 1997 anime is good, downright beautiful at times, but it just skipped and cut out so much material from the manga. It's very disheartening because we'll never get these iconic moments animated in this art style. The Golden Age movies, I never watched them. They look fine, but it's just the Golden Age. Again, like, maybe adapt something else for a change. Then there's the 2016 anime. What needs to be said, really? So as it stands, Berserk is 0-3 for adaptations, but let's say if you didn't want to watch those to begin with, but you wanted to play it, well, one game here actually does that, so I can't really use this hypothetical. But let's just say you're already a fan, but want to experience an adaptation that isn't the animes. Well, we were lucky enough to receive 3 games. Matter of fact, we were lucky enough to even get 1. So I'm on a mission to see which Berserk game should you, an already established fan of this series, should play. If you want to get into the story but can't read, why are you watching this? Go read it. December 16th of 1999, Japan would see its first Berserk game on a damn Dreamcast, no less. Published by ASCII Corporation and developed by Yuke's. Yeah, Yuke's, the same development studio that brought us the greatest WWE games of all time, like SmackDown vs. Raw, 2006, 2009. Those are the only ones I played. They also created Rumble Roses Double X, but I don't want to talk about that. I could, but I won't get past the title screen. Anyway, Sword of the Berserk, Guts Rage, or Berserk Millennium Falcon Arc, Chapter of the Flowers of Oblivion. Rolls off the tongue, doesn't it? Now this is special for 3 reasons. 1, this is the first Berserk game created. 2, this is the first Berserk adaptation that doesn't just cover the Golden Age. And finally 3, this is the first Berserk game to receive a worldwide release, with the US getting it on March 15th of 2000. This gem here is an action hack and slash, perfect for the manga about a guy swinging a big sword. So let's spend a couple bands, $1,000 on a Dreamcast, a few hundred on the game to see if it's worth it. Yeah, I ain't paying this shit. I actually don't mind this game here. It's a hack and slash type game. 2 attack buttons, guard, jump, and items, you get the point. The controls for the Dreamcast aren't that bad. I had a slight delay here and there, but maybe the controller port is dusty. With the score provided by the Berserk legend himself, Susumu Hirasawa. Guts Rage makes you feel like your guts. Of course, it wouldn't be Berserk game without a crash out meter, and thankfully Yuke's thought of that. After Guts receives or gives enough damage, he enters his rage mode. While in the state, you're invincible until the time runs out, so it's great for bosses. My biggest gripe with this ability is that you can't use it when you want to. It just goes off on its own, especially if you accidentally build it up too much when you get slapped around and such. The camera is sadly stuck on a fixed angle, but most of the time, it's not the worst for what you expect. At least let me give credit where credit is due, because this game is surprisingly detailed for a Dreamcast game, made in 1999, no less. Only in a Dreamcast game like this, where Guts' Dragon Slayer can be blocked because of walls or a narrow hallway. They could have made it clip through, but took the realism route, and it's amazing. You can also say screw the sword, unequip it and start boxing if you want to. Granted, it makes fights take a while, but screw it, start throwing some hands. If I have to complain about something else, the controls are a little stiff. It definitely shows its age. And besides the 2 attack buttons, there's not a lot to do in terms of combos, but you can use Guts' arm cannons, spike bombs, throw daggers, and use fairy dust, and that's it really. But enough about the gameplay. What about the story? Is this cinema? Well, let's just get this out the way. Despite taking place after the Convictions arc, it does not follow the Millennium Falcon storyline at all. It has its own original story, so to summarize, Guts, Casca, and Puck are on their way to Elf Helm. However, they decide to make a little detour and run to an original character. Her name is Rita. Remember, it will be important. After killing the group of mercs who are attacking them, Rita invites the group to watch her family's street circus or street performance act. While they're her friend, his name was Ja, by the way, something most people don't have, transform into like a zombie thing and tries to kill, but he got killed instead. This town is ruled by a king who is named, and I'm not kidding, Balzac. If you laugh, you go to super hell. He explains to Guts that these zombies are people infected by a plant called the Magdragona. And if he can bring in the root to this plant, there might be a way to cure everyone. But the one thing that makes Guts agree with this plan is that Balzac claimed that there's a way to cure Casca's hysteria. Okay, so a plot element that wasn't even thought of in Berserk until chapter 237, which wasn't even released until 2004, was brought up here, of all places. What was Miura doing with this game's story? He really put in a major plot device that wouldn't happen until 5 years later in this Dreamcast game. Sure, why not? Also, huge news, because this game does have cutscenes and they are voice acted. Downside, the Japanese release has the good voice acting, but it's the Japanese release, so do the math. There is a translation patch out that does work, so you can plug it to the disc and play it subbed, but if you want to play it dubbed, it's...
Listen, big man, if someone is thanking you, the least you can do is listen. And while you're at it, we need food and some money. Some fine wine will do nicely for me. This mean-looking guy is Gatsu. He's my buddy and carries my house, you could say.
Oh.
And that's our Casca.
Yeah. So if the dub doesn't bother you, you can play the US release, but don't expect quality. As it stands so far, it's a cool Berserk game, released for the Dreamcast, and even though it doesn't follow the exact story, the original story itself, it's fine. We aren't done. There's 2 more games, so 5 years later, after the Sword of the Berserk release, we're back at it again with another Berserk game, this time for the PS2. Published by Sammy Corporation, released on October 7th, Berserk Millennium Empire Arc Chapter of the Holy Demon War. Again, it just rolls off the tongue. Or, just to be a lazy bum, call it Berserk Millennium Falcon Chapters, which is what I'm doing. Another hack and slash action game. This time, it's actually adapting the story from the manga, mainly covering volumes 22 up to 27. So boom, another adaptation that isn't just the Golden Age. We are winning. We actually lost, by the way. Why? Because this game here was only released in Japan. The US never got this game for some reason. And since it's a Japanese exclusive, you better learn Japanese or wait several years after this game came out for a English translation patch to be released. So now it's time to buy both this game and the PS2. But since it's a Japanese game, I'll spend extra dollars to get a Japanese PS2. Hopefully my bank won't be mad at me.
Yeah, right. Well,
Cinema. It's cinema. This here is an action hack and slash game, just like Guts Rage, but it feels like Yuke's fine-tuned it from their last game. For starters, one of my major complaints from Guts Rage has been addressed. Now we have a dedicated Berserk button that allows Guts to go Berserk. You following here? And you can turn it on and off on your own leisure. However, you're not invincible this time around. You're just faster, which is a huge help. Another thing, the battlefield is a little more open, allow you to move around more, and there's less spaces for the Dragon Slayer to get blocked. Gameplay is a massive improvement from the Dreamcast game, but alas, my oldest rival, the fixed camera. We meet again. At least the camera is more zoomed out, so it's not that bad. I like it here than before. The combat has been reduced, however, to just a light attack and a heavy swing. The swing takes a while to charge up, and leaves you open to more damage, so I wouldn't rely on it so much early on. But as you amass party members, it becomes more useful. That's right, I said party members, because this game has RPG elements. So in Millennium Falcon Chapters, after killing demons, trolls, and such, you can get XP, and you can use that XP to level up Guts' health, sword speed, mastery, and equipment, etc. But you can also level up your party member's special ability. Health regen from Puck, defense boost from Shirik, Time Stop, yes, Time Stop from Serpico, and Explosive Wave from Istro. So you have a game about killing demons with RPG elements, and depending on what difficulty you play on, is extremely difficult. Well, there's no rolling, so no, it's not Dark Souls. As for the story, well, it's in the name. This game follows exactly where the manga left off. Well, it only covers the Millennium Falcon chapter, so what are you expecting, really? So it's complete one-to-one, right? Well, not really, because this game has its own original subplot revolving around this character named Charles. He's an apostle, by the way, who psychologically tortures Guts by having him fight spirits of his old crew.
戻ったのか。お前わかるのか。
わかんねえのか。キャスカが高野団のなりでここにいるってことはよ。
もうこれ以上進む必要はない。お前は間に合わなかったんだ。
バカだ。幻だ。
Bro, I don't know if Miura was involved or Yuke's made their own thing, or if this was another one of Miura's what-if stories of his, but this idea is damn genius. We only got a slight glimpse of this idea in the manga in chapter 89, but this game actually takes the idea and just runs with it, and it's amazing. I could rave about this game to no avail, but I have some gripes. Maybe another skill issue, but I feel like you can get juggled by enemies fairly quickly. Even after getting knocked down, you'll have another enemy just smack into you until your health is just drained. There is a way to both counter and reverse your enemy's attack, and the timing to do it isn't too bad. I would prefer if you were given just a couple iframes, just so you can get some distance. Throughout the whole game, you're just doing the typical kill X number of enemies to move the Y. This isn't bad, but sometimes I wish the game would give some type of indicator of how many enemies you need to kill. I only encountered this early on in the game, and to the game's credit, most of the time you have a map with a waypoint, so it's not that annoying. Maybe just a kill count so you can get an idea. Other than some mild tangents, this is one of the best adaptations Berserk was given, especially at the time. Not to mention, this is the only Berserk game we can feel the weight of the Dragon Slayer, and it's awesome, especially for a PS2 game no less. Better physics and better tech than most games released nowadays. If you want to experience Millennium Falcon chapters on the best 6th gen console, you're more than welcome to. Also, this is the first time we get to see the glorious Berserker armor in all of its glory, so I really do recommend you play this. Now, for some reason, it took a total of 13 years for Berserk Game to release, and it's probably for good reason. After letting the story marinate for a while, we could finally have some more arcs to adapt. So, what do we get? In the year of 2017, well, technically 2016. So, on October 27th of 2016, Japan got their hands on Berserk and the Band of the Hawks. It came to the States in February 21st of 2017. This here is another action hack and slash published by Koei Temco and developed by Omega Force. If you're a fan of the Dynasty Warrior series, these names will sound familiar. If not, there's a term for this, right? It's called Muso. What this means is the game is an open world long battle sequence where you do nothing but kill enemies and kill enemies. Now, Berserk Muso doesn't sound that bad. I mean, Millennium Falcon Chapters was basically something like that, and that game was fun. And it's on the 8th gen of consoles, but wait a minute, this was a PlayStation exclusive, and I don't have a PS4, so I have to deal with the bank again. Wait, what? It's on PC? Well, that saves me the death threats. Let's see what this game's all about. Maybe we'll have cutscenes. So, okay, I have obvious problems. I mean, it's an anime game, so expecting 35 minutes of cutscenes was going to be near impossible. But this game sets out to cover the entire story of Berserk. Well, most of it. They skipped out on Lost Children's arc, which I will talk about in great detail in my next video. Anyway, dialogue boxes are expected. What I didn't expect was for them to use footage from the Golden Age movies to fill out the beginning of the game. I mean, having dialogue boxes is common, but to use footage seems a bit lazy to me. Like, they couldn't be bothered to animate, so they used footage from property that was already established. I mean, I never watched the movie, so at least I can finally see them, I guess. Gameplay loop seems like your typical Muso. If you're familiar with it, you know what I'm talking about. If not, you swing the sword and enemies fall, that's the gist of it. It gets repetitive fast, like after 2-3 hours or so. The story, I literally said what it is. There's not much to talk about. I will say, even though this is a strong 6 out of 10 experience, I found myself having some fun with it. Since it is a Muso, not a lot of thought is required to get a kick out of this. And with a coat of Berserk paint, it's a neat game to play if you want to catch up on reading Berserk but don't like to read. put on some sign, forces Ashcrow or my brother, and start slashing away like your guts himself. My biggest problem is that this game is damn expensive. For some reason, Koei decided that this 8-year-old game is still worth its release price of $60. Now, I like this game and all, but no, it's not worth $60. Hell, even $30 seems like too much. I got this on sale from Steam for about $24. I would recommend, but these prices are a bit outrageous. I'd really wait for a sale or to get a cheaper Steam key. If you have a PS4 in the big 25, either buy a copy that's fairly priced, wait for another sale, or you can always, but you didn't get that from me.
One thing I will give Berserk and the Band of Hawks credit for is that they allow you to choose multiple characters to play as throughout the game. However, it's really redundant because after the Golden Age arc, you can't really choose anyone other than Guts. And it's like, why would you want to play as anyone other than Guts anyway? Wait, you could play as Zod? Yeah, I take it back. This is peak. And I suppose.
So now it's time to decide. Which one of these games is actually Kuno? Which one is absolute slop? Now this may be a cop-out, and I'm not sorry, nor do I care, but I feel like all of these games are good in their own right. So whether the Berserk Guts Rage is an amazing time capsule that's kind of fun to play, all of this was on the Dreamcast, mind you, so the fact that Yuke's decided to take that risk and publish this absolute gem is crazy. Berserk Millennium Falcon chapters, downright amazing, from the gameplay to the score to the cutscenes and animations. This is one of the best manga to game adaptations I've seen in a while. Even Berserk and the Band of Hawks, I have some problems with this game. I have fair critiques about this game, but damn, this is the only Berserk game that had the guts to adapt mostly the entirety of Berserk, and it did it exceptionally well. This game is lacking in the cutscenes department, but the actual cutscenes that they give us are animated gloriously, especially during the Kanishka fight. It's just cinema. But if there can only be one game that's worth your time, I see nothing but 3 games, but only one of them is worthy of the title. So allow me to give it thought to see which game is it? Which one will it be? It's Berserk and the Band of Millennium Falcon chapters.
What were you expecting?